Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, a weekly interview show where we talk with interesting people around the community. And we want to welcome the sports editor of the Star Beacon, Mike Greco. Mike, you've been here before. Welcome back.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate you welcoming back.
Yes, and of course it's going to be all sports, one of my favorite things, obviously one of your favorite things.
Yes.
So let's start talking about what hurts the most. The Cavaliers right now,
Yes,
they are down 2-0. Is it over?
It's getting there. This is a steeper hill to climb than last year, certainly. Last year was certainly a big hill. This is even a bigger hill because they don't seem to be in sync this year. JR hasn't performed well. Kyrie is pressing. LeBron and Love just don't have the help this year that they had last year. And of course, Durant is a huge absence that Golden State did not have last year, and he certainly is performing
He's been awesome, hasn't he?
At a high level. LeBron is basically keeping him in this series, keeping the scores, even though the scores are not good. Without LeBron, the Cavs are even worse than they are now.
The fast-paced action of the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
I think I heard when I was coming in, I heard on the radio that Shumpert had received some IV fluids in the second half of that game.
Yes.
Because of exhaustion and that kind of stuff. And you could see on LeBron's face when he did sit on the bench, he just looked drained.
Yeah, they did, and this, like I said, the supporting cast for LeBron and Love is just not there, and it has to turn around quick, or it's just going to be a quick series.
Mm-hmm. I thought Sunday's game, last night's game.
Last night.
I thought they played pretty well.
They did. Yep.
And I think if they even played a great game, I doubt if they would beat Golden State. I really do.
Yeah, and it's sad to say, but they lost by what, 18 or 19. And they played better. But on the other side, if they do some of those things, the long rebounds, the defensive lapses, if they just tighten those things up just a little bit, if Irving hits a shot, if somebody else does this, they're in the game. They're only down by 3 or 4 at certain parts of the game, and then all of a sudden Golden State goes on a 10-0 run or a 7-0 run. If they just shore those things up a little bit even, they still have a chance. They just can't put it all together.
I think the person most people were worried about, and I'm going to include myself in this, was Kevin Love. Mm-hmm. And it looks like he's probably the best performer, next to LeBron, probably the best performer so far.
Yeah, he's playing at a high level. He really is. And and without him and LeBron, the Cavs right now are just a bad team.
Are you disappointed with Tristan's play?
I am. He seems to be trying out there, but he just doesn't have it. He just doesn't have the the hops. He's good at stop jumping and hopping and being real active inside, and he just doesn't seem to have it, and he's going against some big Golden State players, which he's the only one that the Cavs have. They have several of them, so he's getting 4 or 5 guys against him, and he's getting frustrated, and it's just not working out.
Mm-hmm. During the regular season, Mike, there was a lot of controversy around the Cavaliers when they were resting players, especially when they rested all 3 in the same game on the road usually. There's pros and there's cons to that. How do you feel about that?
I'm not a big fan of that. I know there's some talk of you rest the big 3, you get some, you get continuity if they're not all playing together, but I think you have to play at least 2 of the 3 in each game, because you have to try to win regardless.
Yeah, that's what I would think. What message are they sending there?
I mean, and the Cavs, they can do what they want. It's their team, but if you're a fan and say you're playing Denver, for example, and you pay money to see LeBron, Love, and Irving, and they don't play. That's a lot of money you're out, and you're disappointed because you don't see them play and they're healthy. You know, if I were a fan, I would be mad because you're
exactly.
you're shelling out big money to see these players, and a coach's decision not to play them. They're not hurt or anything, and then chances are you're going to lose. And you know, I don't know if that makes a difference with home court advantage or not. Golden State was obviously so much better than everybody this year, but you know, you got to give yourself a chance at least.
One more thing on the Cavaliers. Let's go back to the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 3 against Boston, when LeBron had a game that I don't think any of us would think he would ever have.
Yeah.
I heard two things on that. I heard, one, that he was ill, and two, I heard that he was trying to get Kyrie Irving going, and he was going to step back a little bit. Have you heard those two things? Have you heard anything else, or do you have an opinion on that?
Well, yeah, I mean I've heard basically the same. I mean him being ill, that's that seems legitimate. I mean you can't question. I guess you can't question that type of scenario. As far as him getting Kyrie involved, if he did, that's fine for him.
Because
But
Kyrie did go on to have a great game that
he
night.
did, but at some point, LeBron needs to just take over, and he needs to, be the leader of this team as he is. And if it's not working, it's his job as the leader to step up and start taking over, start taking control of the game, and doing what he's supposed to do.
Do you think they get a game, or do you think Golden State wins the two here?
I think they get a game in Cleveland, and then I'd say Golden State in 5.
Okay, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Now they had over the years, a lot of people would criticize the organization for their draft picks. This year, from what I read and hear and everything, that they decent to good. Is that how you feel?
Yes, although I'm kind of one of those that it's a wait and see approach. On paper it looks good, but none of these guys have done anything yet. So even Garrett, the first pick. So I feel like you can't judge a draft until 2-3 years down the road. But from all indications, they seem to be headed in the right direction with this draft, and then some of the free agent acquisitions in the off season. Shoring up the offensive line, certainly a high priority. So they're the quarterbacks don't get killed like they have in the past. So it appears to be a good draft. But we'll see.
Sashi Brown says he expects them to win games this year. Does that mean 2 or more?
I would say it's good. Well, I probably kicked myself for saying this, but I think it's going to be hard to win just one again this year. I would assume that they'll at least get 3 to 4. They'll find 3 to 4 in there somewhere.
Yeah, looking at that schedule, there looks like there is 3 or 4 teams that they have a chance to win. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Week 1 is not one of them, of course. They
Right.
open up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they close the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That seems to be a trend, closing the season with the Steelers here. Last several years. Yeah. Do you think that the Browns can fill the stadium up? As the games were going on later and later in the year, you would see more and more empty seats. Do you think those fans will come back?
I think they will initially, because I think people will be interested to see, the Garretts, the Peppers, Kaiser, potentially. I think fans are interested to see, if what these kids can do. But ultimately, it comes down to, can they win, and will they win? And if they're 1-9, and weather is 10 below, come November, December, we'll see the same situation.
What do you think Coach Hugh Jackson has to do to get a third year?
I think they need to be more competitive. I think the fans will live with, you play hard, you play competitive, you give your best.
I think you hit it there. Being competitive, not necessarily being measured by victories, but by competitiveness.
Competitiveness, yep. And you're in the game. and you're just, if you lose, you're that close. I don't think if the people will be satisfied if you get blown out 42-0 every game, or the team quits on 42-0, and then you quit. I don't think the fans will like that part. But if you're competitive, you give it your best, you try hard. You get these kids some reps, and you stick to the plan. And that's been the problem since '99.
They don't stick to the plan.
They have had no plan.
Right. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, they've had no plan since '99. They need a quarterback. They need a guy who can be in there for hopefully 16 games, but somebody who can be there year after year after year. As much as Browns fans hate Pittsburgh, the reason they win is because of
Consistency.
Big Ben, consistency, Big Ben, a big offensive line, a great defense. Every year, it's the same thing, and that's why they win.
The quarterback from Mentor, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, Trubisky.
Yes. Were you surprised he went second?
Very much so. That was a big.
That was high, wasn't
very,
it?
very high, and I wish him well. It's good to see a local kid do.
Absolutely.
I'm very surprised, and from what I've read and heard, he's got all the tangibles to be successful. I hope he is. Little leery, him coming from a North Carolina team that's not real, known for their football. A 500 team that plays in the Sun Bowl and the the lower level type bowls, and a little leery about that, but.
Of course, he's going to a team that's pretty similar to the Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chicago Bears aren't exactly a house of fire.
Right, correct. But I hope he does well.
Yeah, I think we all hope he does well. As far as professional sports go, now we'll go to my favorite. You notice I say that for the last of professional sports time, the Cleveland Indians.
Yes.
They've got some issues too.
They do.
Some that
They
I
do.
didn't see coming. One of theirs is trying to keep the offense consistent.
Yeah.
That has been, you get 8 runs, and then you can't get any runs, and you win 2 out of 3, then you lose 1, win 3, lose 2.
Yeah.
What are you seeing here?
Yeah, baseball it's just a funny game.
It's every day.
It's every day. It's hard to keep up with it mentally. I think if you're a player and just keeping that mentality every day of and learning to fail 3 out of you're going to fail 7 out of 10 times, and if you do that, you're pretty good. But obviously they need to get, Encarnacion needs to get going. His he doesn't need to hit 300, but 260, 270 type. Needs to drive in some more runs.
Hey, he's got 10 home runs, but it seems awfully quiet.
Yeah.
You don't notice that he has 10
Yeah, right,
runs.
exactly. Brantley, he's kind of, fallen back a little bit after kind of a good start. Even Lindor's kind of fallen back a little bit. So, some of the guys that have had early, good starts are kind of falling back a little bit. So they just need for these guys to get going a little bit.
The starting pitching seems to be coming around a little bit here in the last 10 days or so. I'm really impressed with, he gets a lot of knocks, but I'm really impressed with Trevor Bauer.
Yeah. He's certainly he's everybody's kind of punching bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's done well lately. And it's that type of performance that the Indians need from him, especially. Just that kind of another added piece of the puzzle there that could propel them to the top. I think they'll be in it the whole season because they avoid the long losing streaks. They don't have a lot of big winning streaks, but they don't have a 6, 7 game losing streaks either. And I think that's more important than the big winning streak.
I fully expect them to win their division.
Yeah.
Now, after that, I'm not so sure because of Houston, the surprising New York Yankees.
Yeah, definitely.
A couple of outstanding ball teams, Boston.
Yeah.
And they haven't really come out like gangbusters either yet.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. American League is very, very tough this year.
Very tough indeed. The bullpen, you figure when you watch the Indians, if they have a lead going into the seventh inning,
Yeah.
you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean that's Francona has that pretty much set with with Shaw, Miller, and Allen. That's worked obviously so far. Allen has stumbled a little bit recently, but he's still one of the better closers in the game. Miller, he's just a freak of nature,
Isn't it?
He's
It's just almost like automatic.
yeah, he's all arms and legs.
I mean, he gives up a hit and everybody goes, "What? What's going on here? You gave up a hit."
Yeah. But yeah, if they can get six innings from their starters, they're in good shape.
Talking with Mike Greco, the sports editor of the Star Beacon. The Indians, again, I know you recently were at a game, I think it was a day game, and you did one of a great feature story on a former Indians pitcher, now broadcaster for the Tampa Bay Rays, Brian Anderson, local product from Geneva High School. That was an outstanding story. I really enjoyed reading that.
Thank you.
How did you catch up with him? Did you catch up with him when you were at the game?
Yeah, it was. I actually wanted to talk to Brian during the World Series last fall. But we didn't hook up. So I went through the Tampa Bay communications department, and we kind of exchanged emails, and then I hooked up with Brian, and he actually was not working that game.
Why wasn't I with you?
He was actually there.
Oh, he wasn't working.
No, he was actually there with his son. His son wanted to go, or otherwise Brian wouldn't have been there, because he said once if he's not working the game, or he's not playing the game, or he's not in the dugout, he doesn't want to be there. So if it wasn't for his son, he wouldn't have been there. So fortunately for his son, he was there. But boy, what a great guy.
That's right. That was in your story.
Yeah.
Out of the 162 games, I think he does like 140.
Yeah, 145.
So he gets a little time off, and he comes back to Cleveland a lot.
Yeah, he does. What a great guy. And we talked for about an hour about various stuff, and what a great guy. Comes back to Geneva. He still has a home here, and two of his children from a previous marriage are here, live here in the Bainbridge area. So he comes back here, lives here in the off season. You mentioned going to Eddie's DQ,
Yes.
Madsen's Donuts, and playing putt in Geneva on the lake. So he mentioned all the fun things to do.
I
And
think he said he was a season ticket holder
He's
to
told-
the
for
Cavs or Browns.
Browns,
or both?
yep.
Browns.
big Cavs fan, big Cleveland fan in general.
Except for when they're playing the Rays.
Yes.
I think that's what he
Yes.
said. Which is understandable.
Yeah, it's understandable.
But yes, one of the classy guys in the business, Brian
yeah.
Anderson.
Yeah, he really was. And I remember, and we talked briefly about this, we were covering a game in 2003 when I was at a previous publication, and when he was with the Indians, and he had, his fielders were not the most generous to him in that game, and he lost, and interviewing him in the post game, he was not a happy camper. He was, in fact, he was very upset with his fielders, and I relayed the story to him. He knew exactly what the game was, and we kind of talked about that, and then he got traded to Kansas City like right after, so it was kind of funny just to reminisce about that stuff. And he remember, we talked of course about the '97 World Series, and
He did pretty good in that World Series, didn't
he
he?
did real well. Yep. And then the 2001 World Series, when he was with Arizona, he pitched in Game 3 after the 9/11 incident, and he pitched the first game in New York after that. So that was quite emotional for him too. So it was a real good talk. Real good guy.
When you went to Progressive Field for that day game with the Indians and the Rays, did you know before you were going there that you were going to try to interview him, or is that something that just came while you were there?
Yes, I knew I was going to interview him. I had been in contact with the communications department, and that was basically my sole purpose for going, was to talk to him. And um, and the communications director had texted him, and I didn't know where I was going to interview him, where I was going to meet him. So I was getting a little concerned because he hadn't responded to the gentleman, and then all of a sudden, about third inning or so, he finally said he would come up to the press box. So he came up, and that's where we talked. So we talked for about an hour or so. I was grateful that he came up to talk.
Very good article. Really enjoyed reading it tremendously. Let's talk a little bit about local sports now. Kind of a review of the high school year. Some of the highlights I picked up. You do a great job there as well, covering the local teams. Right here in Conneaut, our football team, for the first time went into a District 10 conference and were able to be co-champions. I thought that was quite an accomplishment, not being familiar with the teams they were going to play. What did you think?
That was real impressive to beat some teams. You never know when you go into a new conference what's the teams are going to be like, especially teams that from out of state that you're going to face. And Rocco, he did a good job with that team, and went to here, or traveled a couple hours away even to face some teams there, and that they had a really good season, and just missed out on a playoff spot. So real good season for the Spartans.
Speaking of a good season and staying with football, Jeremiah Knight, the Jefferson Falcons, and Hernandez, was it, from Grand Valley?
Yeah.
What years they had.
They did.
Amazing.
They did. Absolutely.
Incredible. Okay, both rushed for what?
Yeah,
way up there.
Jeremiah had over 2,000 yards, and Eduardo was near 2,000. Yeah.
Imagine 2,000 yards in 10 football games.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
Yeah. Jeremiah, he was, he kind of did it, on a lot of carries. He had like 300 some yards in a couple games. Eduardo, he was just a lot of long runs. I think he had 96-yarder, unfortunately, against Conneaut in that game. And Jeremiah's going to Ohio State next year to try to play for Urban down there. And of course, Eduardo, he'll be back next year for Grand Valley.
Boy. And you see, they're on my schedule. I remember I wanted to get a tape recorder in the press box and say, Eduardo, the ball carrier. He was just on fire, but he was on fire all year long.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, absolutely.
Some other highlights. How about the Ashtabula County sending 10 wrestlers to the state championship?
Yeah.
I think a couple of them right from St. John High School.
Yeah. St. John didn't, not a lot of numbers for other sports, but, of course, wrestling is more of an individual sport, and they got a champion with Jacob Lagoa, freshman, just a freshman, and then Gage Willis from Pine
Undefeated, he's coming back.
He's coming back. Jacob's coming
Runner-up and now a state champion.
Yeah, so,
wow.
Wrestling is, very well could be the county's best sport, actually.
Oh, yeah, it did well.
It did real well, and St. John had a couple other placers that were underclassmen, and that's the fun part, is that these kids are coming back. So it should be an exciting, couple years at least for
I would think
for these kids.
Girls basketball, I think the St. John Herald's girls team won more games than they've won in several years, and were the only team to win a postseason game.
Yeah, they did. Geneva, they had a tough loss when Haley Peoples went down with a torn ACL. She was a good player. Unfortunately, went down with the knee injury, and that kind of derailed their season. St. John, they had a good year. Nick does a fine job out there.
Great guy.
We put stats in the paper every week, and he wanted to make sure we put the 3-point baskets in there, because St. John had a lot this year, so we wanted to make sure that we incorporated that stat in there. So we did that, and they had a lot of them this year. Like 80 something this year. So I can't, yeah, they did a good job.
Moving on to boys basketball, 3 county players topped 1,000 points.
Yeah,
Masucci with the Heralds,
yeah.
Ernst with Edgewood, and the player of the year,
yeah,
Sam Hitchcock, who's been on our show.
yeah.
Tremendous athletes.
Yes,
3
yeah.
go over 1,000 points.
Yeah, I mean, Hitchcock and Ernst, they had quite the battles. You know, and it was hard to pick between.
I said that. I said that was going to be the toughest job to pick, but I think the right person was picked.
Yeah, it was because.
I thought it was, Mike, because if you took Ernst away from Edgewood, they probably could still win some games. I'm not so sure that would have been the story for Jefferson, although they played well in the postseason.
They did. And Jefferson's schedule was a little bit tougher than Edgewood's. They played Lake Catholic during the regular season. Played some other teams that were tougher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was tough. Both players were outstanding. Marcus is going to Malone next year. Sam's going to Hiram on a full academic scholarship.
Sam, I guess he's going to be a doctor.
This kid is, boy, forget athletics.
What a gentleman.
This kid's going to go places.
Yeah, he is.
Not athletically, but academically.
Yeah. Well, those were some of my highlights, Mike. Did anything that I missed on the high school level?
Of course, we had just finished the state track meet. We had some placers, including Gabe Warsing from Pine-Mattoon Valley, who won the shot put in the seeded division of the state track. So that was good. And we had a 4th, Nikki Squatritro in the 800 and Deidre Marison in the pole vault.
Were you a fan of track?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see. One of my highlights, it didn't have to do with high school, was last week I covered the NCAA Division III National Championships over at Spire, and Mount Union was the host school, and their final event of the day was the 4x4, and AJ Digby, who was a para-Olympic, who competed in Rio last year, he took the handoff, and he passed it like 3 or 4 guys, and he just took off and ended up winning it. So that was kind of cool to see a local, the school that hosted it, and they won the final event. So that was kind of cool to see, him, and he passed 3 or 4 guys. So that was kind of cool to see. So I guess in a few months we do it all over again.
Do it all over. The football will be warming up here in July. So you've been with the Beacon now almost a year?
Almost a year, yeah.
How's it going for you there?
Good. Yeah, it's been a lot of learning experience. Trying to, still remember names and faces and peoples, but I think I'm finally getting a grasp of things and what we do, and trying to improve things, just trying to make the product the best that we can every day. Sometimes we fall short, but we like a good batter, we go to the plate next time and try to hit a home run.
Well, one thing you guys do very well in the high school season is you do feature stories on the athletes around the county as well. Yeah,
and that's a big thing, because a lot of times we're pressed for time, so we can just give you the this is what happened type of thing. So features are good to kind of delve into their personal stories. So that's a good element to have.
Well, Mike, thanks for spending some time with us on this Around the Town with Chuck. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck.
And we'll get you back again during the high school season.
Great. Appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you.
Mike Greco, sports editor of the Ashtabula County Star Beacon, on Around the Town with Chuck.